All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a sci-fi narrative that pretty much flips everything we assume about peace and power right on its head. It's called The Cost of Peace. Humanity Fought Back. And wow, it is a total masterclass in suspense. We're going to look at how humanity went from this underestimated, seemingly pacifist species to an absolute powerhouse. It's basically the ultimate deception. We're talking secret shipyards, brilliant counterattacks, and the gritty reality of what deterrence actually means. So let's jump right in. To really get the gravity of this, you've got to understand how the rest of the galaxy actually viewed Earth. You see, as newer members of the Galactic Council, humans vastly preferred negotiation over conflict. And because of that, this massive assumption just sort of took over. The galaxy thought humanity was harmless. They had this reputation for being entirely peaceful, and by extension, weak. The prevailing thought was literally that humanity only survived because the stronger powers let them. But man, were they wrong. Section 1. The illusion of weakness. 200 years of facade. 200 years. Just let that number sink in for a second. For over 2 centuries, humanity avoided a single interspecies conflict. While everybody else in the galaxy was aggressively expanding, flexing their military muscle, Earth just kind of kept its head down. To the rest of the universe, they were just harmless academics and diplomats, completely oblivious to the brutal reality of galactic survival. To put this dynamic into perspective, look at the completely opposing philosophies here. On one side, you've got this deeply terrifying alien empire. They're expanding like wildfire, conquering everyone in their path with just sheer brute force. Worlds are literally surrendering without firing a single shot, because the alternative is total annihilation. And then you have Earth. For 200 years, their whole strategy is just science, diplomacy, and exploration. But here's the catch. To a ruthless, conquering empire, diplomacy looks exactly like prey. Section 2. The sleeping giant awakens. The war begins. So things finally hit a boiling point when this unchecked alien empire reaches Earth. The Emperor delivers this chilling ultimatum: submit or be erased. Earth's answer? One word: no. Right after that, it's just 0 to 60. Within the very first hour, thousands of heavily armed warships drop out of hyperspace right into human territory. Colonies burn, space stations are instantly turned to ash, and millions are forced to flee. Everyone in the galactic community is placing bets that humanity is going to be wiped out in days. The Empire even starts celebrating their quote-unquote easy victory on day 1. But while they were popping the cosmic champagne, Earth was already making its move. And this is where the story takes an absolutely jaw-dropping turn. Deep under Earth's oceans, inside hollowed-out mountains, and tucked away in these highly irradiated, forgotten asteroid belts, secret shipyards wake up. It's wild to think about. While the whole galaxy genuinely thought humanity was totally defenseless, these massive, perfectly engineered fleets were detaching from hidden docks. We're talking highly advanced, experimental battleships that literally no one had ever laid eyes on, powering up and breaking stealth for the very first time. What we're looking at here is basically the ultimate sci-fi application of deterrence. It's that old Latin phrase brought to life: si vis pacem, para bellum. If you want peace, prepare for war. You see, for generations, humanity wasn't ignoring the violent threats out there. They were quietly, obsessively preparing for the exact moment diplomacy failed. And honestly, the execution was flawless. Their very first counterattack didn't just surprise the enemy, it utterly annihilated an entire invasion fleet. The rest of the watching galaxy was just left in absolute stunned disbelief. Section 3. Asymmetrical Warfare Tactics. The Intelligent War. Now, what's really interesting here is that humanity didn't just build bigger ships. They completely rewrote the rules of engagement. They knew they couldn't just trade blows with a massive empire in a traditional slugfest. So they fought an incredibly intelligent war using ruthless asymmetrical tactics. Suddenly, advanced AI systems are coordinating millions of soldiers across light years. Massive enemy supply routes? They just vanish into the void. The Empire's supposedly impenetrable comms are hacked and scrambled. Human stealth cruisers are pulling off these surgical strikes on command vessels, and then poof, they just disappear before the enemy can even lock on. Oh, and to top it all off, human engineers are pulling off miracles, fixing up heavily damaged ships in hours while it takes the Empire weeks to get one ship back in the fight. It was this brilliantly compounding advantage. Basically, humanity acted like a giant, highly advanced learning algorithm. Every single time they suffered a defeat, they analyzed the data, adapted on the fly, and learned something entirely new. And every victory just cemented their strength even more. Thanks to these hyper-efficient tactics, this supposedly unstoppable alien empire is suddenly bleeding out. They're literally losing entire sectors to a species they thought would fold in a weekend. Section 4. The Final Stand. The Battle of the Solar System. At this point, the momentum completely flips. The alien emperor realizes with absolute horror that he's actually losing, so he makes one final, desperate gamble. He strips his outer defenses and throws every single remaining war fleet he has into one massive, all-or-nothing assault directly on Earth. Thousands of warships swarm the solar system, literally blocking out the stars. It kicks off the absolute largest battle in galactic history. For agonizing hours, it is just relentless weapons fire lighting up the vacuum of space. Catastrophic losses on both sides. Ships are being torn apart by the dozens every single second. The human defense line is cracking under the sheer weight of it all. They're barely holding on. And then, Earth's hidden flagship arrives. It drops out of deep cover right into the dead center of the combat zone. We're talking about a massive supercarrier, completely unlike anything the galaxy has ever seen. The moment this city-sized ship arrives, the entire battlefield changes. Rallied by their new flagship, the human fleets launch this devastating, unified push forward. It is just cinematic in scale. Under that immense pressure, the alien lines don't just falter, they completely fracture and collapse. In the chaos, human forces systematically cut off every single escape route. The alien emperor's own flagship is suddenly cornered, stripped of its escorts, and totally surrounded. The emperor is boarded, captured alive, and this once unstoppable empire is forced into an immediate, unconditional surrender. Section 5. The True Cost of Peace. The Thematic Resolution. So, the dust finally settles. The war is won. But the really crucial point here is what happens when the Galactic Council has to face the staggering reality of who humanity actually is. They realize humans genuinely never wanted this war. They just spent 2 centuries prepping for the day someone forced it on them. Looking at the unbelievable carnage, one of the Galactic Council elders quietly admits, "We believed humans were peaceful because they feared war." They had completely mistaken restraint for cowardice, assuming that being a pacifist just meant you were vulnerable. But then you have the human admiral's response, and it is absolutely chilling. It's the whole thematic core of the story. The admiral just says, no, we are peaceful because we understand exactly what war costs. See, it wasn't fear that kept humanity's terrible weapons locked away. It was the crushing knowledge of the absolute destruction those weapons would cause. They were holding back out of mercy, guys, not weakness. After that, just dead silence in the council chamber. And from that day forward, no civilization ever dared to threaten Earth again. The whole galaxy learned a very hard, unforgettable lesson. Beneath that gentle, diplomatic exterior was a civilization that was fully capable of burning the stars to protect its home. They finally understood the species that avoided conflict right up until there was no other choice. Then, humanity fought back, which kind of brings us to a crucial final thought. It leaves us with this profound question to chew on as we wrap up this explainer. Is true peace only possible when you are fully prepared for war? Does the capacity for massive destruction actually end up being the greatest protector of life? It's a super heavy concept, but honestly, that's what makes this narrative so incredibly compelling. Thank you so much for hanging out with me to explore this one. Keep this question in the back of your mind and keep questioning what true strength really looks like.